Alright, another play day today. We got to play with the planer a little bit. Got a project, don't know if it's going to work out, don't know what's going to happen, but all I'm doing is playing, trying to learn a little bit about how the planer operates, which directions I need to be throwing levers and that type of thing. Feeds, speeds, that kind of thing. Speeds are going to be really slow. We're not in a hurry today. We're taking our time. This has got a lot of oomph behind it to be moving stuff around like walls. So going to be running it slow, which I'll probably run most of the stuff slow even after I learn the machine, because it can move pretty violently. Anyway, project for the day is I've got some cast iron here that I'm going to whack away on and see if we can make something out of it. And as I said, this may be a total failure, but I want to know about cutting tools and that kind of stuff. So what I have got here is the remains of the Atlas lathe bed that I converted into my turret lathe. So it was originally a 54-inch bed, very worn through the area right near the headstock, which they always do, and that's the end that I cut off. So I've had this piece kicking around, and it occurs to me as I learn to run this a little bit, this may make a couple of fairly nice straight edges. So that's what we're going to attempt to begin making out of it. And like I say, all I'm doing is planing on it today. I expect it to move before we're all done, but I think I can, if it works, we can get a couple of straight edges out of it that will maybe be fairly accurate. And, you know, eventually I'll go back and try and scrape these and see what we've got. But anyway, we've got about a 17-inch long piece. So my plan is to take probably this side, which has got less holes in it. We've got one little hole in the boss in the back here, and make probably a 16-inch straight edge out of it. And then take this section and make a 12-inch straight edge out of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clamp it down, and that's something else I'm trying to learn, is fixturing on the planer. I'm going to clamp it down just like this to the table and kind of indicate it in, but nothing real spectacular here for this first cut. I'm going to shave this bottom side down to where we've cleaned it all up, because we've got this area. Then I think I'm going to try and flip it back over, and we'll plane the top, and I want to indicate it in fairly accurately to outside edges, because I'm going to use those as references. So flip it back over, clamp it down again. I'm going to plane off the top and probably both outer edges, which those will be the 45 edges if everything works out right. But I just want to get a nice straight edge there, you know, for right now. Once I get that done, then probably flip it over again and scrape the bottom fairly, you know, plane the bottom off fairly accurately. And so we've got a nice parallel surface on both edges. From there, I'm just going to take it to the hacksaw, cut the webbing out of the center into two separate pieces, and then we'll fixture it from there on to indicate it in and clean it up. You know, I may go to the milling machine and cut these down, you know, flush, so they're not, I don't know. We'll see when we get that far. Like I say, we're just playing today. So that's kind of my plan. We'll see if it works out or if this is just another project in futility. But I get around the planer a little bit. We'll see how it's going to cooperate. Now, I ran an indicator across the table side to side here the other day after I did the last little shop update and showed running it parallel. It's out about 5 thousandths is where it is over the full 21 inches of table travel. For doing little narrow projects like this, I don't think it's going to be that big an issue for right now. And it's nothing that I'm going to address right now. I chalk it up to several reasons. One of them is it's sat off a kilter for so many years, you know, sitting out in the machine shed, and it had been moved around and got pulled down off the blocking and stuff, so I think that's a part of it. Also, we're on a wood floor in here that's not the most perfect in the world, and then we've got it blocked up on beams too, so that's probably inducing a little bit of stress on it. I'm not going to make any changes to that right now unless I just come across something that's really shows that it's an indication. You know, once we get it set down on a nice concrete pad and everything, why, it'll be a little bit different. We'll start dialing in and seeing how close we can get with it. But right now works good. We got the new bearing from the phase converter. I released that video yesterday, and pretty happy with that. I had to change out the circuit breaker in the box. We had to go to a 40 amp breaker on that. We had a 30 amp on there. The phase converter would start and run fine, but the motor on the planer itself, it drew a little more amperage than that, and it would occasionally pop that breaker on startup. Once it was running, it was fine. It was not an issue, but on startup, it was throwing too much of a load on it. So I just upped that a little bit, and not a concern as far as I can see. So and I just got that installed this morning. I've already fired up the planer a couple of times and made sure it was going to run. So I'm going to go around, lube up the planer, get everything ready to go, and then we'll just start clamping this down and see if we can make some chips with it. So we'll be back in just a short. So here's my tentative setup from this side. I just got her down. We've indexed off of this just against our stops here, and we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Got one of the new T-nuts underneath, clamped down just with some tooling that I had. These are clamps that came with the planer, and these are the ones I'm utilizing. And I've got several different sizes. Looks like about 4 of each, of I think 3 or 4 different sizes, but these are a taller one to fit in the T-slot, and don't have enough set screws, so I'm robbing the last 2 for the other side. And I'm just going to go ahead, we'll take it over to the other side, finish clamping it down, and start checking some motion here. So hopefully I'm not in the way too much here. Let's see if we can do everything from this end. Love these little wrenches, evidently designed for something similar to this. Takes our, looks like about a 1/2 inch on one end, and yet the other is going to be a 3/4 for tightening down 1/2 inch bolts if we're using, which I am. T-nut. We don't want to tighten that down quite yet, because that one in, and we've got a stop to go on the front. At least I'm assuming that's what this is, because it came with the planer. Excuse me. Butt our part up against it. And what I'm doing is I'm just going to tighten it down from this side. That will push the edge up against the clamps on the other side and hold it square with the T-nuts with the slots in the table, T-slots in the table. Now I've honed a tool bit that was already ground, so hopefully it's got the right geometry. We're going to start on this side and just walk it across the table. always more tooling to be built and adapted to. Okay, so let's see what we got here. Alright, well I think we're pretty well stabilized there. Let's go ahead and fire it off, and I'm just going to play. We'll just let it run through. I'm going to take and touch off with it. Actually, what we'll do is we'll set our table travel and see if we can't get that adjusted. That adjusts on that end of the table, right down here with those two. There's a lock, and then there's a positioning for the table. And then the stroke length. Up. See if we can't get this. We're going to have to do something a little bit different here with all of this set up. And our stroke length is adjusted right here off of this one. So just like it would be on a shaper, it's the same style. You loosen the nut, adjust your stroke, and then tighten it back down again. So I'm going to go ahead and fire it up, and I've got everything lubed up. And we'll start making adjustments here to the table. Got a little bit of gear noise coming out of the gearbox back there. It's chain driven. Chain driven with the clutch. So I lubed it up pretty good. We're going to see if it quiets down. It's the way with all of this stuff. I'm not sure the feed's quite right on some of these settings, but we'll let it run, let it, kind of force some of the gunk out of it, hopefully. And either it'll work itself out or else we'll have to start making adjustments to it. Okay, stroke actually looks about right when we started. We need to adjust the table. It needs to go a little farther forward here. So, we'll go here and adjust it a little bit more. Give myself lots of stroke and see if we can't keep from running into the wall. table length of stroke right there. Lock the table back in place. Pushing it back. Okay, there's a cut off there. Let's come this way. Actually, let's come this way a fair amount so I can see what travel's going to be. Let's see. Okay, there we finally got the touch on. It's not going to clean everything out behind me except for the cottage here. Okay, well, we're being a little bit exceptionally too cautious. Not a bad finish, it can be better, but it's not bad. That's actually pretty nice. I'm pretty happy with that. Alright, we're just finishing up this first cut, and really happy with the finish on it. It looks really good, I think. I advanced fairly quickly and took a fairly heavy cut across the webbing at the back. But I think we're going to go ahead and shut everything down, and I think I'll bring in and show you a little closer picture of it here. note to self, don't run the table down that far because you're too fat to make it through. This will give me a chance. I'm going to go ahead, run it back across after we take a look at this, and take another cut, and a fairly substantial cut, I think. But this will also give me a chance. I'll go and check out the phase converter, make sure we're not overheating there, and play with this motor a little bit and just look around and make sure everything's as it should be. That's not a bad finish. Alright, let me just hand hold this camera and get you a little better view of this. So here's a view of the finish of it. See, on this side especially, we got a few little striations along here. And this back here is where I just I fast forwarded through there. I didn't I overrode the automatic feed and got a pretty hefty step over there. So that's not bad. I'm not unhappy with that. So I'm going to go ahead and, like I say, I'm going to check motors and stuff, make sure everything's as they should be, and then I'll set it up and make another cut. You know, we'll show part of that, but I don't know how much. But yeah, I just want to get this down so we've got level all the way across, you know, on both of these rails. Then we're going to flip her over, reclamp it, and face the top and the two outer edges. All right, we got about a 35 valve depth of cut going here. And it's handling that no problem. Probably take another 50 thou to completely clean up that edge. Well, if this cuts along the way it looks like it's going to, we may increase that depth of cut and see if we can get a little bit more out of it. Still giving a real nice finish. There's no problem with that at all. Yeah, it looks really good. I cut these apart and start machining them, I really expect the cast iron to move a little bit, but maybe I'll be surprised, you know, maybe it's aged enough, stable enough that it was made out of good cast iron, that maybe it'll be fairly stable, we'll know. Know in a bit. That's a nice finish. Oh, that looks good.
I'm just going to let it beat across the back end. I hurried the last time across there, but this is a decent cut. I'm just going to let it run, see how it comes out. So I'll turn the camera off for a bit and we'll come back and look at it. Okay, we took a 35 thou depth of cut, and then we went back and we went to 50, and it was handling that fine. So I went back and walked back over again and increased it. So this is a 75 thou depth of cut. Seems to be handling it just fine. The finish still looks really good on it. So we're just going to let this run across. Looks like it's only going to clean it up. We may take one more cut, just a light finish, just to see if the finish is any better. But the finish looks really good. It's just the same as what I showed earlier after the initial cut. So we'll just let this run through and probably fast forward a little bit and see what it looks like when we're done. There we go. I'll just do away with the audio here. I was a little bit concerned about going across that interrupted cut like that, but I think it's going to handle it fine. I think we'll let it run. Sounds pretty good, looks real good. It occurs to me that I probably should have checked before I put this cross stop in here. It's got a hole in each end. I'm assuming they're for jack screws. I probably should have checked and seen what they were. I'm assuming they're like a 1032. That's what it looks like. Okay, sorry about that. I couldn't take that interrupted cut. I was watching that too much longer. This is still our 75 thou depth of cut. It'll take more than that, but I wouldn't want to do that through an interrupted cut like I across the living in this bed. You know, I don't think I have a problem with a piece of cast iron taking on that ground. Looks pretty good, cuts pretty good, I'm pretty happy with it. So I think I'm going to finish this cut and probably take one more about 25 thou, just to clean up cut. You know, I didn't get a whole lot of material put off this compressed area on this end, so I think another 25 thou will maybe stabilize it a little bit more and get down to a little bit cleaner material. Okay, that's still a real good finish. Let's let me take you over here and get a little bit better. There's our 75 thou depth of cut. I'm gonna run it back across there one more time. I think about 25 thou just to clean it up. And we'll see if we get a better finish with that.
vacuum this up one more time. But there is our finish. And that doesn't suck. So I think we're going to call it a day here for this little project for right now. And probably tomorrow we'll come out, we'll clean everything up, flip it over, and clamp her back down again. And then we'll cut the top surfaces and probably the outside edges is, I'm guessing, what we'll do. Because that way we can use those for reference points for machining the rest of it. So hopefully you found this a little bit interesting, and I appreciate you hanging around for it. Kind of fun to see the planer running. So once we get it dialed in, why, there'll be quite a few more projects coming with it. I'm excited. I've got some stuff to do with it. So hopefully you found it interesting. If you haven't already, I'd appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button. And any comments or suggestions, leave in the comments section for me below. And as always, guys, thanks for taking the time to watch.